and rolling. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. My name is Richardson. I'm the managing broker at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners, and this is my lovely bride.
Oh, my name is Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And just for a side note, can you believe that this woman has put up with me for 24 years of marriage? She's actually put up with me for like 30 years.
31.
Okay, 31. Okay, so she's counting the days. But this is her anniversary too. And after 24 years, that's a tough lady right here. So
nah, I got a good product to work with from the beginning.
I've been a work in progress for a long time.
My whip.
Yeah, that's
work
me.
In progress.
Yeah, that's it.
Just kidding.
So anyway, trying to get back into why you're actually here kind of thing. So I do want to kind of throw out a quick shout because we are going to be talking about KV Core here in a little bit. Yay! That is going to be going live on March 17th. That's going to be coming here really soon, but I'll go over that more in just a minute. We kind of want to start off by, like what's happening on the listing side of things is really, it's kind of different. And so there's some new rules, and so we're just going to kind of take these together here as we kind of go through. And so so I'm going to be the old rule, and then you can help me with the new rule. So old rule is that, you can look for a new home while you sell your old one.
Oh, no.
Wrong. Okay.
No,
What's the new rule?
So come up with a game plan for where you live before you list. And simply because inventory is so low, your seller is going to have same situation as the buyers out there. Everybody's looking for the same product. And right now we have the perfect storm where the boomers, the Gen Z, and millennials.
We love you, but we're going to make you homeless.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so, we can't just do this. I'll list and
have
then I'll
a consultation with your seller, because some seller are in a unique situation while other is very flexible.
And sometimes you're going to have to work this out. We're seeing more contingency contracts than we ever have. And it's also because a lot of sellers understand, it used to be contingencies were bad, but like contingency now, a lot of our sellers expect the contingency or not put off. I mean, I don't say that, but we're seeing a lot of those that are having to be because they understand what's going on in the market.
Well, sometimes the sellers, not only that, they're waiving their own contingency when they put an offer in, because they know if they put contingency in the file, they'll never get accepted. So, at the end of the day, have a solid plan with your seller.
Now, the second old rule that we want to kind of crush is that you should price your home a little bit high to try and drive higher offers.
Oh, no.
Wrong. Okay. That's just not what we're seeing be really, really effective out there. You've got 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I totally cut you off. You got 2 weeks to get a full price offer on a home.
So I will tell you, a lot of times you market a property right at fair market value, or even just a smidge below it. I promise you'll have multiple offers. Not only that, you'll have a great appraisal gap that will make up more than what you put in as list price.
So, we just don't see any benefit in
listing high,
listing over the median.
And if your property has been listed for 2 weeks and you had lots of traffic but no offer, I can tell you, at some point the market has decided your price is more than they can bear.
Yeah. The next old rule was that you just got to have some nice pictures.
Oh, no.
No, you got to go above and beyond. People are searching in the time of COVID and that kind of stuff. What do they got to have now?
They got to have area photos, 3D, and sometimes videos,
virtual
tour, depending on the property price,
and professional photos.
Correct.
Yeah,
Do not, even though we all know inventory is low. Okay. Right now, you still have some appraisers that will not go on site, and that they're doing what we call desktop appraisal based on your photo that's been submitted to MLS. So whatever you submit is going to be a opinion of what the property looks like.
The other thing that we find is that your buyers are setting up what to go look at based on those photos.
Correct.
So if you got, and I'm not saying all agent photos stink, 95% of them do. We take pictures of open toilets and dumb things like that. Use a photographer. It's important.
Listen, in the past, Alan's tried it took Alan Richardson a long time for me
she's
to
stubborn.
well, no, I'm thrifty.
Okay.
And,
Nice way to put it.
and that's where you come
Yep.
anyways.
So,
But anyways,
all
but
right.
I found that using professional photographer, one, it looks great. And two, you're not having to spend hours at the property trying to figure out which angle to take.
So next old rule is that you need to prepare for a couple of showings every week for the first week.
Basically, one of the new rules, brace for a non-stop onslaughting that will leave you nearly homeless until it's over.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, this is exactly what we do. We normally we will list our property on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, and then we'll go live normally on Saturday. And Saturday is like a giant zoo. And then we schedule showings and we ask our sellers, hey, this would be a great weekend to
don't
go
you
out
want
of
to take a
town.
weekend now with
Wouldn't it be nice to go to the mountains
or your
How
significant
about the
others?
beach right now? You know, and so we really do encourage them. Listen, otherwise it's just going to be this constant door going on. When you price property the right way right now, you're going to get a lot of traffic. So we always list on Wednesday night or Thursday morning. We always take Friday off, and then we start our showings on Saturday, and then we blow it out. Normally by Monday,
you have multiple offers. And typically I ask the agent to be patient in my private remarks and state, you know, we'll have a decision by Tuesday because we're reviewing all offers on Monday, and I'm going over with the seller on Monday night. Okay.
You know, last old rule is that you should always just take the highest price offer. Wrong. You've got to really break that sucker down. What do you got to do, man? Because you are the queen of this.
Well, what I look at, you know, right now, a lot of agents are getting creative. They're doing appraisal gap. They're doing escalation clause. They're doing a lot of things just to make it palatable for the seller, especially in a hot market in a high demand product that's less than 300. So what I look at is the overall contract. There's not really one thing or the other, but is the overall, as far as financing, how solid is your buyer, how much you're putting down payment, what's your interest rate, what's the appraisal gap, what is the, you know, if any temporary occupancy is required from your seller, and all that stuff are taking consideration. Sometimes we have not take the highest offer because the fact that we don't know how solid that buyer is.
Let me catch you up. We don't take the offers. We present all this to your sellers. That you've got to present all the information, because sometimes sellers have different motivations.
Right.
Too.
And if we just let them know what the terms and conditions are and let the seller make a decision. And, you know, a lot of times seller will ask for your feedback. And you got to give them the honest feedback, and you got to do your due diligence, y'all. If you're going to have appraisal gap, ask the agent to show you proof of the fund for the appraisal gap. Don't just take it blindly.
Yeah. Well, and we need to, you know, like our clients are counting on us to be organized. You want to be a really good listing agent, then communication is really the key. Also, make sure you're communicating with those offers that you get the buyer's agents and how you're responding back to them.
And be polite, y'all, because just remember, if you're on the flip side, you will like some professional courtesy. Yeah. Not only that, when I do a listing, we're going to contract, I'll email all the agents. Matter of fact, I emailed them with some data because this was brought up to one of my CE class. One of the agents said, oh, this is really nice. And I'm like, what is it? And they said, the listing agent basically told us how many offers we had, how many was above the list at certain price point, and let us know so we can better prepare our buyer for the next offer. Yep. So they don't think we're just, you know, tooting horns or whatever. Yep.
All right, we want to kind of change gears, and we want to talk about Russia and Ukraine. We're not a political kind of entity, but you know, we do have to understand that you know, international conflicts, wars they have the potential to affect the economy and U.S. housing, and so what are we kind of expecting through this? Now, the more intense and the worse it gets, is it's going to lead to more of an impact. Overall, we are kind of expecting that the luxury market takes it a little bit harder. So the higher end has the greatest potential, probably for seeing a little bit of a slowdown on that end.
Correct.
You know, we are going to see interest rates bouncing all around with this, because the market is going to be fluctuating up and down. And as that market fluctuates, it doesn't affect rates directly, but it does affect rates indirectly. So the other thing that normally happens with this is when you have these international conflicts is inflation is going to rise. We're already at the highest inflation we've had since the 80s,
Right, in
basically.
decades.
And so now we have even more opportunity for inflation to kind of be rearing its ugly head with this. And so again, we're not trying to get political. I mean, I got nothing but love for Ukraine, but I'm not trying to get
But we just want you to know how
yeah.
world can impact our domestic here as well when
Yeah.
it comes to housing.
Well, and we have to also understand historically how things affect
Works.
this. Like if you want to look at, and so I'm just want to share with you like this is some geopolitical events and how the stock market has reacted. And so you can of course see some things are bigger, like Pearl Harbor. That took the markets over a year to recover. But if you really think about it, that was World War II, and it only took us a year to recover. Most things are really not as impactful when you look at things like, Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. That was almost a half a year right there.
Which is significant.
It is, and so I'm not saying it can't, but the stock market is going to react with what's going on, and that is going to, it will end up affecting property values at some point. This is the capital markets at time of war, and you can kind of see what's really been going on with the capital market. So we're expecting a lot of fluctuations. And so on the short term for housing, what that really has the greatest impact to do is to really drive rates crazy. We're going to see them go up and down. Matter of fact, interest rates actually dropped a little bit this past week, which is
good.
Well, good. We weren't, but we were kind of expecting it to kind of sit at this level for a little bit, but no telling exactly where that's going to be. When I say no telling, like we expect fluctuations, a quarter point, down a tenth, up a tenth, down a tenth, that kind of thing.
And it's probably a reflection of what's going on and in fear of inflation, and that's why it's down a little bit.
Well, and then at some point in March, the Fed is going to be raising the federal funds rate, we believe. Everyone thought that they're going to raise. Well, maybe we don't know what's happening with that. Will they still raise the federal funds rate? Well, originally everyone was thinking they're going to raise it to a half a point. Now they're saying a quarter point. Now they don't know if they're going to raise it at all. So it is a giant unknown for us. The biggest thing we have to be ready for is that and understand the only constant we have is change. And so we've got to be flexible, nimble, agile, and do our best to communicate and keep our clients really, really engaged.
Yep.
All right. It's the good news for us. Georgia remains the #1 state for doing business for 8 years straight.
Straight.
So, straight, even if you can't say it. Then Selection Magazine has ranked us as a great state for doing business, and this is a really good thing. There are two schools of thought about, does Georgia offer too many incentives, and what does that do? But you got to understand that when the government offers incentives, that brings in jobs.
Absolutely.
And jobs drives the economy. And so I'll show you some other information here that shows how that really does have a lot of positive side effects for our state. So right now, one of the things that was just released is that 1 out of 3 U.S. homebuyers is looking to relocate to a new city in this year. All right.
Well, this has been a great migration during pandemic time where a lot of folks are migrating from their old job.
It's been great for Georgia.
Yeah. So Georgia had just been booming.
Well, and right now, Georgia is the 10th. I'm not Georgia, because really we're probably the 3rd best state for relocations. Atlanta is the 10th best city in the United States. And where the greatest number of people are coming from is New York. But if you look at the list of the top 10 metros, there's only one city in California. Really, the greatest migration is happening in Florida, Texas, and Georgia. And so we're probably the 3rd greatest location for incoming migration in the United States. And that's a really good place for us to be, knowing that so many home buyers are looking to relocate to our city. Right. Now, we know that we have challenges on affordable housing and that kind of stuff. But part of that reason is we look at that based on what prices here have done. If you look at the average home price in New York City and you come to Georgia, you're like, man, it's a sale time here, kind of thing. Like I can get so much more home. Right. So, when you look at the folks who are relocating in, that's a pretty good place for Georgia to be. So we got some new numbers that came out, and it showed us that pending home sales had a decrease of 5.7 in January. This is kind of a leading indicator of what's going on. We've had 3 months where pending sales, and so this is not necessarily good news for us, kind of thing. But this is an indicator of what's going on. So we've had less pending home sales for 3 months in a row. That being said, January existing sales actually jumped almost 7% over December. So that is kind of a normal trend anyway. December, we tend to have one less week of buying anyhow.
Well, that's because nobody wants to move during Christmas.
Yeah.
And plus they don't want to showcase their home during holiday season.
Yeah. But let's talk about what really is going to be our biggest challenge heading into the rest of 22. And that is affordability.
Yeah.
And so you can see the housing affordability index as well as our median family income. We are seeing incomes increase, but we are seeing affordability continuing to be a problem. That is going to be our challenge. And so we can take that to be, okay, home affordability is bad. We're just going to take it for what it is. Or we can say, I need to be proactive. So if you're showing your clients properties that are at the top end of their price range, you're not doing them any service because they may not be able to actually afford that home by the time they get that. We got to make sure
due to rising interest rates.
As interest rates move up, as availability trims down even more, kind of thing. Now, I am expecting inventory to increase as the year goes along. We are probably going to have to get through those summer buying seasons because even though we are seeing gives you that day where your mouth doesn't work. So we are seeing a little bit more inventory starting to uptick, but we're also seeing a ton of demand where folks are still, even with rising interest rate, even with pricing continue to
increase.
Thank you. All right, because the good news here is that even with all these challenges, our consumers are still optimistic about housing. So the OJO Labs, has been doing these studies every single month, and so the number of folks that think that are confident that they're going to be buying a home in the next 3 months, is over 50%. And that number has been increasing. Now you would figure, gosh, that number would be decreasing, but no, it isn't. Folks are still very much engaged in wanting to own their own home.
They got to buy a house because the rental rates are ridiculous right now.
We'll talk about that in just a second too. So our interest rates actually dropped a little bit last week, which I'll take. Okay, it dropped. So the 30-year fix came in at 3.89, just a slight drop, but any drop right now, we're going to be glad to take, kind of thing. Now that doesn't mean that's the actual rates that we're seeing. Because
mortgage applications.
So we are seeing mortgage applications going down. And so as we see mortgage applications go down, that's going to be a less demand as we move into spring and summer compared to last year. Plus we see a lot more inventory coming on. So I'm really hoping to see some things opening up.
With the mortgage application going down, if Fed doesn't raise their rate, the lender probably will decrease their rate as well. But
these are the actual rates that really, even though the Fannie Freddie rates came in at 3.89, last week, for the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage, that came in at 3.84. FHA came in at a 4.09, that kind of thing. So we are seeing where rates are, those stated rates and what's actual real rates are not always the exact same.
Correct.
Now, one thing that we haven't talked about much is that the labor market is off the charts good. Okay. Unemployment claims were lower than expected and actually hit a 52-year low.
Yay.
The lowest in 52 years, folks.
That's awesome.
Jobs drives a lot of things in our economy. And so the fact that we have so many Americans employed right now, that's a really great place for us to be. Now, you brought this up earlier. So, the AP shared a story, the Associated Press, and they're like, rents have reached insane levels across the U.S. with no end in sight. And that is really, really true. I don't say this to kind of bash the renters right now, but, for a lot of times folks were like, well, I'll just rent to kind of save, I'm just going to park here in rental world. That's not a great place to be. And we're not helping anybody out with that.
It's going to cut down your disposable income at the end of the day. So you have less money to enjoy things that you enjoy doing, being a renter.
Well, and rental rates follow property values. So this shows what's happened with property values and then what's happening with the corresponding rental rates. So as property values move, rental rates move. And so as we've seen property values increase, what else are we seeing? Rents are increasing. Now, for those folks out there that even though we've seen property values increase, their payments haven't increased for a lot of these folks. Yeah,
so
if you've been renting,
if
you've been owning a house, you're sitting better.
The
The vast majority of our folks have fixed mortgages, and so, but the thing is that rents take between 3 months and 12 months to truly follow along. So as property values increase, that rental rate is going to continue to increase for months and months and months.
You can look at that chart and see what a steep incline that it has been since last year, and it's only going to continue so. And no longer you can find a rental property for $800.
And these property these values are working together. So you can't have increasing property values and not have increasing rents. And as rents increase, that's going to eat in even more. So being much more diligent about working with our renters and helping them understand they've got to save for those down payments. We need to get them in a home.
And right now, you guys, for a buyer that's less than $300,000, they almost need about $30,000 cash between down payment, appraisal gap, and loan closing costs.
All right. I want to talk about home ownership because this is something that's pretty near and dear to our heart, and it should be near and dear to yours too. If you're a real estate professional, the more folks that own homes, the better off, kind of thing. Wealth in the United States is tied up in home ownership. If you don't take anything else from today, take it that wealth in the U.S. is tied up in home ownership. And so if you want to help communities in your community to be more wealthy, help the people buy homes. This shows the home ownership rate in the U.S. by race. Now, I'm not a race bait person, and I'm not trying to point out race, but this is a new report that came out from the National Association of Realtors. And I think it does offer some insights. And I do want to talk about not about race in a negative way, but I do want to, this
about education.
It really is.
Educate your community, educate your ethnic group, and let them know what home ownership does.
But not just home. I mean, I don't care if you're white, green, yellow, black, doesn't matter. Home ownership is the path to building wealth. I mean, we know that there were issues in the past with different minority groups, redlining, that kind of stuff. I don't dispute that's been there, but that's not necessarily our case now. And so now we need to be educating and bringing folks up to speed. So let's look at how does this really break down? And so this is the home ownership rate, for Black, white, Asian, and Hispanic. And then this is the home ownership rate for white Americans. And you can kind of see where Georgia ranks. Georgia came in at 74%. If you compare it to the rest of the nation out there, we tend to be, right pretty much in the middle there. The home ownership rate for Black Americans actually, well, here's the interesting thing, in the South is way higher than, a lot of folks are like, the South is racist, but really the African American home ownership rate in the South is significantly higher than most of the, but well, I mean, look at New York, New York, 35%. So, it's not about being liberal, Democrat, Republican. There's nothing about that, but this is where we stand. And so it is very important that more folks understand the power of home ownership. Here's where we are. Asian Americans, sorry, just kind of, and I just think it's important. Well, I'm with you.
Wyoming,
I'm
that
Asian
kind of surprised me. Wyoming, 79%. Wow.
Yeah, well, a lot of go there. And then Hispanic, Hispanic has been increasing, kind of thing. And so, we've actually seen the Hispanic home ownership rate increasing over year, probably at a higher rate than just about most other groups out there. Now, where I really want to go with this as far as like the takeaway. And so the takeaway, so for white households right now, 57% of white households in Georgia can afford to buy the typical home. And so that is a very important number for us to be looking at. And at the same time, right at 40% of African-American renters in Georgia can afford to buy a home. And so do you care enough about your community? almost half of the folks that you meet that are renting a home between, I don't
They
care
can
what,
afford it.
I don't care if it's black, white, green, doesn't matter. Almost half of our renters in Georgia, if you put everybody together, can probably, if you're renting a home, can afford to buy a home.
Mhm.
We know that the path for wealth in the United States is tied up in homeownership. And so if you really care about your communities, if you really care about the folks that you work with, play with, hang out with, that kind of stuff,
Please
it
encourage
needs
them
to
to
be,
invest in
be
their
about
future.
understanding that home ownership is really, really important to building generational wealth.
Absolutely.
So let's jump in here. So Gret came out, and so there's nothing new on the advertising as teams, but they have put out another hearing. Is for the July 14th adoption meeting out there. And so this is the newest rule change. You can find this on the Gret website if you'd like to read it out there, kind of thing. So the big thing with Gret right now is about advertising as teams and making sure that team names are covered. Again, you can find all this information on the Gret website they've got out there. All advertising has to be done in the name of the team, and it has to have at minimum at least one of the name of the licensees, or the one of the name of the license, the last name of the licensee has to be in the team name itself. The other big rule change here is that the word team or group shall be included. So all teams have to have the word team or group in the name, period.
No deviation.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that you couldn't be, the Alan Ming team would be fine, but the
Richardson group,
but the Richardson group would work. But to say, but there's also a whole set of words you can't have, like associate broker, brokerage, broker, owner, company, that kind of incorporated.
LLC,
so we couldn't be Richardson
Inc.
or we couldn't be Richardson brokers, that kind of stuff. So making sure, and Greg's not going to be offering any sort of grandfathering here. Okay, I talked to Lynn Dempsey about this. I actually asked him the question directly. He goes, "We've been working on this for 3 years. We're not going to be offering any kind of grandfathering in."
And this is because that consumer protection, they want to make sure that all advertising are not misleading.
Yep.
And therefore, if you grandfather somebody in, how is the consumer to know whether or not they are a true team or actually a brokerage?
Yep. All right. Our 50 largest metros in the US, they rank them by new real estate construction. And guess what? Georgia comes in, or Atlanta comes in at number 5. We are the 5th largest. So we have the 5th largest based on percentage of new construction going on. This is good, and I'm not gonna say bad, but this is good for us, kind of thing. One thing that we do want to see out of our builders is building more affordable homes. We need more affordability.
That's tough right now, because we all know any new construction that's around about 300, 350, if exists, is not really considered in any upgrade or any customization. It's box built, small lot, and what have you. But
we're really glad to see that, and we need it. Now, one other thing is that the positive side, and for, we have some builders that follow us on here, and thank you very much. Townhouse construction's on the upswing. And if you've not considered townhouse construction as a real estate agent, as a realtor, you really need to, because townhomes, condos are moving into, they're moving into that starter home position for so many first-time buyers, that kind of thing.
A lot of folks are looking at tiny houses simply because the cost of construction is less, and therefore they're looking at affordability.
Well, and it is about affordability, but for our builders, building townhomes is one of those things where they can, because they're building 5 and 6 at a time, kind of thing. The economies of scale really help them be able to do that. Plus, they can keep affordability low.
All right.
Plus, a lot of the folks that are looking for those townhomes, those are our younger and our entry level buyers, and they need a product of that price point, and they don't want to mess with yards, and they don't want to have to worry about maintenance. That kind of thing makes it, this is a really good fit. Now, while we're speaking about new construction, North American Home Builders, NAHB, yes, thank you. They came out and they're always doing a lot of data research, and so they came out with the 5 features that all generations believe are most important. Now, for us that have that, whether you're selling an existing property or flipping a property, these are really important features for us to understand, that because they're spending millions of dollars doing research on what our buyers are what's really important to our buyers. And so, number one, laundry rooms, not just the laundry closet, but actually a place for laundry. Number 2 is having exterior lighting. We just added that at our house too.
Yeah, we just added soffit lighting, which makes the house pop.
Yep. Number 3, ceiling fans, which is, that's a pretty inexpensive upgrade to be able to do. Patios and outdoor living, boy, especially here in Georgia, we use inside, outside a lot. And then last thing is walk-in pantries, having more, these are what the buyers are really, really looking for. And so
absolutely,
that's great. The iBuyers sales are going through the roof, selling to other investors. And I'm not really happy about this. And this is another reason why I think, we are at war with the iBuyers. And I probably shouldn't put it that way.
What I found out from the iBuyer and talking to one, I won't disclose who it was, but the escrow holder of the iBuyer, they're looking for folks that have basically probate sales or kids that have inherited a property and don't live there, don't know what the value of the property is, and therefore for iBuyer it's clean, quick, no question asked, but it also take a 20 to 25% discount on the average.
Well, and right now the other challenge is a lot of the iBuyers are one out of 5 houses that they buy, they're turning around and selling it to an investor that's turning it into a rental. That is not making any Americans more well. I mean, it's making somebody.
It's making someone
but
wealthy,
it's not helping our
communities. It's not making our community.
So they're taking inventory out of what we should be selling to buyers and sellers.
Owner occupant.
Which is really important for us. We need that. We've already talked about the fact that homeownership drives wealth, and so this is another reason why I'm not a fan of iBuyers, and I'm not really trying to completely bash them, maybe a little bit, but I'm not a huge fan, because I think it's important that for the health of our
community,
well, not just our community, like our wealth is tied up in homeownership. So, all right, KV Core. This is more of an internal thing, is going live on March 17th. We are going green. By the way, in case you're wondering, that is St. Patty's Day.
Yep.
So we're all going to be wearing green, pinching those of you that don't do it. And we're going to be going live on KV Core. We are not going to be we're going to be sending some information out to get you prepared. But on this day is when the websites go live, all the training starts. Everything is really going to be hot and heavy on this day. We'll have you some advanced information out there. But we are super excited about KV Core rolling out to every single one of our agents. It's a really, really big deal. So more information that will come, but just go ahead and mark it on your calendars. The 17th, that sucker's hitting, and all websites are live. All the training is going. Everything is hitting that day. That is a lot of
questions. But
call,
be
text.
patient.
We're gonna
have video.
We're gonna walk through with you the whole 9 yards.
We're gonna have video and everything else. So if you can't participate at the time that is being featured, review the videos, please.
Now, Freddie Mac has a neighborhood real estate specialist. This is a NRES certification done by Freddie Mac. And so I don't normally tout a lot of other people's teaching and that kind of stuff, but this is an accreditation, and it doesn't cost anything. It is done online and virtually. And so you can go and get signed up for this. I'll include this in a link for anyone that wants to do it, but it is Wednesday, March 9th. It is an online class. If you're interested in doing that, I do encourage you to look into that as well. I am going to be teaching this Wednesday also, the 2nd, because that training is next week. Fast top dollar home sales with staging. So I'm going to be teaching staging here in the McDonough office. And then on Thursday this week, we have What's Bugging You. Don't be scared, be prepared. And that's going to be in our Noonan office on Thursday.
And honestly, y'all, I know a lot of you may have taken this course in the past, but I can tell you, as we have seasonality and adjustment and climate variation, There are different new bugs and new things that's coming out. So it's good for you to just, if nothing else, for your knowledge and educate your client as well.
Well, and then not to tout my own class on Wednesday, I think that staging is vitally important. If you want to be a really good listing agent, you have to be understanding how to stay. And my class is entirely about preparing your house to market and sell it for the most amount of money in the shortest time possible. That's what I mean by staging.
And not as go hire a company and redo your whole entire furniture.
Yeah, we're not trying to go in like, let's make an accent wall. No, that's not happening, right? I need this thing as neutral. Well, I mean, it's true. So we hope you guys have a great week. If we can be at any kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals. We answer it all. Hope you have a wonderful week and we love you.
Thank you. Happy Monday.
Bye.
See ya.